everybody, welcome back to week 3 of Contenders China. Today is our last game of the day. We have CC versus Laboratory. I am joined by I'm joined by Scribe and Kenobi, who has just replaced
I would love to be Blank. I mean, have that beard, have that majestic beard, the hair, just the wardrobe, the nose ring.
Well, Blank's probably sitting there now very happy with himself. But the question is, are CC or Laboratory going to be very happy with themselves? CC, they classically go for more standard compositions, whereas Laboratory, they're a bit more unorthodox. At this point, they're kind of known for playing a little bit kind of crazy sometimes. You know, are Team CC still going to be able to keep control of this matchup?
I think this is one of those matchups where if you're Team CC, you need to be stomping this matchup. I think this is basically one of those matchups where it's going to be needs to be 4-0. Like we talked about with T1W when they were playing these types of teams. These are the types of teams that you need to beat and you need to win convincingly, because then you're going to start to see cracks that someone like a T1W can exploit, someone like a Lingon can exploit. So I think Team CC shouldn't have any problems with Laboratory. They're a very tank-heavy team, probably the one team with the influence that they have from Shanghai Academy, or Shanghai rather. They have the influence of Overwatch League, have played some more standard compositions, have probably arguably one of the best Winston Goats compositions in the region. So again, I think this is one that Team CC should win out. Laboratory might be able to bring some interesting things to the table. I know they play a lot of Hammond with Seeds, which I'm personally not a fan of, but maybe Scribe thinks differently.
Yeah, I think this is actually one of those big matchups that actually is going to matter a lot more for the teams not playing it than the teams that are going to play it, right? Because I 100% agree with you. Team CC has been an accolade since the beginning of the season, has been kind of like listed as the top Chinese team based on the pickups that they have made. But T1W is one of those compositions, one of the teams that's willing to play like these different compositions, these off-meta compositions. And if Laboratory can take them to the limit and start finding these small gaps in their tank compositions, I think that this is something that a lot of other teams can start learning from, and if they have the capacity to push them in the same way.
Well, Laboratory, they tried to flex last week, which is something that they didn't previously kind of do all that much. Do you think it went well, and do you think they should continue or stick more for comfort?
So they, for the first week, we have to give kind of like the caveat and the asterisk where they didn't have that flex support player, so they were playing a lot of solo support Ana, which really didn't work too well for them, and they kind of were pinned into making just one type of composition, whereas the second week they were able to flex a little bit more, which I'd like to see, but they were playing some weird compositions. You know, we talk about it a lot. We sometimes see this Ana Brigitte, and it's a lot of, it's just a weird support deal because you don't really have, you can't share the love with your healing. You just have that single high target burst healing, but not really anything like a Zenyatta where you can throw Discord Orb kind of all over the place, like a Mercy where you have a little more sustain. And they really play a lot of Hammond, which is Seeds. And against comps like Pharah, it's very difficult when you don't have that damage mitigation like something from a Winston double. Even from Reinhardt shield, you have 2,000 health worth of shield that's just going, not really getting any value. And the way that they play it, it's just not coordinated enough for the Hammond to start working.
Well, our first map will be Lijiang Tower, so let's go ahead and find out how these two teams fare against one another. We will be joined by our casters Blank and Richard, who are going to take it away for us now.
Hello, back again, and I am excited to be casting with you, Blank, good sir, as we are about to start in the map of Lijiang Tower. And again, you know, we've already seen, you know, the 4-0 matchups coming. Do you think we're going to see the same thing coming out today? Maybe it'll be an even exchange of 2-2. We'll find out here going into this.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more of Overwatch. It kind of sucks, right? But what can you do? You want to see some more close games, but at the moment it just feels like there are some teams at the tippy top. We've got a lot of teams that are towards the bottom at the moment. And T1W versus LG, we expected to see that a bit more of a closer match. They completely surprised us, didn't bring out a lot of these weird and wacky DPS compositions that they played before, and T1W basically just rolled over with that free composition. And as we go back up to Lijiang Tower here, and we're starting off on Control Center, this is a map that just heavily favors this free composition because there are not many places where you can demand a team to fight, and when you do, they're in close quarters, whereas Zarya and Reinhardt just absolutely thrive here. So you will see Jiqiren on that Reinhardt. You will also see Tian Kong also on the Reinhardt as well.
And you know, you're going to see some interesting May play here, which will have right on that high ground position there in the back line, seeing if they can get some initial harass with that wall, going to prevent them from moving forward, as it's going to be a nice deflect here, seeing if they're going to try and transition back to the high ground themselves, but not really gaining too much here. Getting some nice pressure, though. Seeds getting it down on the wrecking ball as they just continue to push them back, and there's the separation by that May wall. Now they're going to be able to exploit this front line here onto Laboratory. Team CC just going to immediately force them back and wait for a regroup.
I mean, if CC have been doing the homework, and it looks like they have been doing, they understand the lab really struggles once they start getting split up. And Seed's doing Seed's things, like he jumps in, just kind of feeds away the majority of his health bar, and he plays his hamster a lot, and it kind of confuses me a little bit. But what can you do? GGN come up towards the Earthshire is probably what they're going to be used to win the next fight. Seed's on point, you know. You've got the Lucio. CEO's very happy just to hold him here.
And they might try and get a stun here, see if they can turn it back again, wanting to buy at least some space, but there's the pin coming in the back line, able to get kill onto the Zarya for Laboratory, not really going to be able to do too much more on that pressure still by the team of Laboratory, trying to maneuver forward, having Kong with that, the Earth Shatter, but the Graviton's going to come out on the front, completely negating any mobility on this team of Laboratory, as TCC is just continuing to dominate on this front line in the choke point.
I mean, there's no stopping him here, really, is there? You get GTM back up to another Earthshire after he just used that last fight. Chen Kong really wants to use this Earthshire that's inside his pocket, but Song Boost could definitely very easily deny this because they are coming into such an easy choke. So Seeds once again going to try and displace him a little bit with the mines. They do actually find Song Boost in the situation. There is a split off though here, Rich.
And the Earth Shatter going to come out to knock down one, regardless of the Zarya shield, at least being able to hold some of that. Minefield again going to be used to try and zone them, still leaving those last few, but really again not gaining too much. Seed's going to be left out in the open. Slept Dart at least going to be able to dive out of there as well with the Zarya shield. Nice protection, and now 80% just under it, as they're going to have one last opportunity here to really try and contest with Seeds in the pack harassing.
Seeds is in a really tough time so far. I think it's more down to the fact that Barry's positioning himself. But no, he does get dropped on the point, and the 100 tries are just going to completely push him. There's a Graviton now available. Yeah, this is over.
And that's from both sides, but they don't have the damage to follow up on Laboratory, so it will be Team CC still dominating, but they look like they might have the numbers advantage, at least for the moment, getting one Orchid out of the fight, forcing them back off the point, looking to maybe turn it back around with, again, the pile drive going to come out by Seeds in the back, causing some harass as they look to get another now. Seeing Boost getting taken down on that Brigitte. Unfortunately, they'll have an even exchange, though, so still numbers in favor. I believe still even about at this moment with Team CC trying to force them away. And again, this is just really trying to buy as much time as possible here for Laboratory.
Yeah, Seeds dropping back on the point, and this is what Hammonds do so well, and it looked like it was over, but they come back into those, it'd be mostly bins here, actually keeping them in this one. Some good projected shield placements, and managing to stay in the front line, kind of covering for Seeds here a lot of times. Now he does have the, ooh, this is cheeky. This is real cheeky. He's going to possibly go in with the power driver and drop the mines on top, but looks like he will opt to jump out of this one. Yakumo's still on the May, and if you can have a clean fight with the Blizzard, this pretty much could end it. So there are a lot of mobile heroes on the side of Laboratory.
And there's the speed boost coming out to get that positioning for the Blizzard with a nice wall again, looking to prevent that division between their team, picking them off early. Kong not going to be able to do too much here on that Reinhardt, forcing them back as GG Ren is going to get pulled with the majority of the team, as now they have the minefield, though. They're going to get a decent combination there against this Team CC.
They absolutely succeeded there. They invest a lot though, right? You will have the sound barrier to counter out the next Graviton that does come through from Zijin as they come through. And CEO as well as Song Boost both have their ultimates available. I think this is going to come down to coordination because you have a lot of options here. You got the Nano that you can pop onto Jichiran as he swings into the grab, but you don't have anything to really close out the Graviton, right? And that's where when you swap out Yakumo, and so you have a Mei instead of a Diva, this is where things start to change up a little bit.
Zijin now going to throw that Graviton to the far left side of where that wall was to try and sever their team once again at 70%. They're going to use that sound barrier as well on both sides to get some nice defensive reinforcements here, trying to sever the team again with that wall. There's the follow-up. Nice job going to get another, taking out the tank and the support. Earthshatter going to try and just force them away one more time, but Minefield's going to hopefully get some zonage here to see if they can maybe pressure them away, getting that Minefield very quickly on the back line for the team of Laboratory as they still manage to hold on to this point, looking to switch it back finally with one member still remaining to contest against it. But again, they're really just halting very much here. They're holding out for a decent amount of time and going going to pretty much lead into this 99-99 into the overtime.
And this is the thing, sure you can grab them, but it doesn't matter on top. Now you do get the grab combo, or you get the blizzard combo there, which just basically locks everyone up, which is going to make this nice and easy. But Laboratory making Team C suffer a lot more than they probably should. We've seen Laboratory before. We touted them as not one of the strongest teams in the group. Team CC sitting at 8-0. This is pretty horrendous, the fact that they've been brought to 99% by Lab.
And they're almost able to buy us just enough time for that entire regroup with the Transcendence, but still, yes, they are giving quite a fight here, again, as you said, for being that 8-0.
It's surprising. It really is that Lab can force Team CC into that kind of position right now. You're gonna come back into it though, right? You have the next map to come onto. It's gonna be Night Market now, and Song Boost is the one who makes the switch over to the Hammond. Zijian goes to Diva, and there is no Zarya as of yet on this team composition. So it begs the question for me, like, who's your big damage dealer in this? Like, sure, you have a lot of sustain, you can stay on point, and that's the way you see Song Boost switch back over to Zarya now. I'm not sure about that. The big thing though for Team CC is that none of their grabs should be mitigated. Now you have Zijian back in the mix on that Diva. Hopefully with the Giganti bombs here, you can get this bigger bomb combo, and you can close out fights a lot quicker and a lot sooner for Team CC.
And it'll be interesting to see if Laboratory was able to get pressure forward because Team CC allowed them to, or it's really just them underestimating it, forcing them into the back line, seeing if they can get some initial positioning here, as it will be in 10 seconds. The control point becoming active, as now as GG Ren still trying to give some protection here, making sure that they can secure this position on the point.
It's very difficult for the choose a charcoal. That's unfortunate.
Oh, the knockup getting the pin into the wall. What a beautiful timing there for all of those events, as it's now going to be Team CC dominating this percentage point and seeing how Laboratory is going to try and regroup and contest against us now.
If you're a Team CC fan, you're sat here saying it's all intentional. It's all intentional. I'm pretty sure that was a complete coincidence that they managed to get that charge onto the Hammond. They were coming back. They do have positional advantage here now, but Bins still, because he's able to pop the projector barrier onto the Hammond, Seeds, who's just constantly going in. He is higher charge and he is building towards his Graviton very quickly.
25%, it's still climbing again. Orchid having the Transcendence just in case for this engage as the Earth Shatter now becomes active. Graviton gonna pull them just around the corner. Will they be able to have enough damage to follow up onto it with the protection by Seed? But it's not gonna matter. Again, that immediate triple kill going on to Laboratory by Team CC, regardless of the Graviton, allowed them to continue flourishing here on this control point.
This is a big threat as well, like Zijian being in the mix, so you kind of forced to place your Gravitons now into weirder places, and you grab it there around the wall. It gives a lot of time for GG Ren to set up his own Earth Shatter there. He knows which way they're coming from, drops it down, pretty much ends the life of both the supports that they're trying to rush on through. And now Song Boost and Zijian, they can combo together, make this win condition happen with the Graviton and the self-destruct. But Laboratory, on the other hand, they're having the exact same problem that Team CC had last time, is they don't really have any closing power.
Self-destruct now being cocked in the back with the Graviton, seeing if they can pivot the shield. Not going to get anything, but very low. Finally going down is going to be Kong in the back on the Reinhardt, not able to survive. Seed's going to be taken. Oh, actually, Seed's just, I believe, going around the backside, unfortunately falling off here, as it will be just, again, so much aggression coming out by Team CC, forcing them back and not allowing them to get anywhere near this control point.
And there's Orchid, being Orchid, making those quick picks towards the beginning. He's gonna have a Transcendence the next fight, and I think one thing we've got to talk about, Rich, right, is GG Ren, always in the fight, always pretty much has Earth Shatter, and it's a constant threat to you on the Laboratory. How do you play around it? And they seem to just be ignoring Seeds at the moment. Earth Shatter their own laid down, doesn't really hit anyone.
And they're going to look for a pin, at least going to maybe get the DMEC, but no, Orchid coming in for the saving orbs on the side, able to get the pick with a Transcendence still in the back pocket, looking to hold it, and that's going to be now overtime, finally shredding away. Seeds looking to buy a few more seconds worth of time, but really nobody there for Laboratory, really able to try and get back and contest in time, allowing them to claim victory here.
Yeah, and sure, you find the pin, right, onto Zijian, but you're in no man's land by the time you already hit the wall. It's a painful time for them. Tian Kong goes down almost immediately, and then who else you're leaving up to make space? Seeds, right? Seeds just on a massive, like, flank around. He's just spinning around the point. He's not doing too much, and then it's all down to the Zarya on Laboratory here, who I actually think Bins has been playing fairly decently, despite having to deal with both Hammond and Reinhardt. It's tough, but they're making it. Bins is making it work.
And they really are. And again, it's just one of those things, like you said, just you're so far out in the open, and Orchid being right there with that Discord Orb immediately onto the Reinhardt to get that pick, because you see such effective gameplay coming out by that Zenyatta player of Orchid, and it's something that you could definitely always rely on from their team because it's been very consistent, not only in this match as well, but pretty much through the entire Chinese contenders, really, to be honest, if we've kept a close eye on Orchid.
Yeah, Orchid's been playing pretty damn well. I'm not gonna lie. His positioning is probably my most favorite thing about him. He makes sure he's in the right position at the right time. And I think too many Zenyatas rely heavily on their Lucio to manage to get them into positions they need to be. But you see Jonak a lot of time. He's spread up from his Lucio, and he'll play in like these tight corners, tight corridors, and that's what you see Orchid doing a lot of time. And it kind of sets himself up for success rather than relying on other people to enable him, which just really allows his front line to flourish.
And it really just, again, it allows the opportunity for him to be so aware of his surroundings and the composition that is going against him. And we're going to go ahead and see some more gameplay from this team coming up very shortly after we do go to a quick break before entering into our second map.
Tripping all over my shoes, yeah, I'm falling for you. Ain't nobody like you, yeah, you got me. Tripping all over my shoes, yeah, I'm falling for you. Ain't nobody like you. You might be out of my league, but I caught you staring at me. It feels like I'm floating. Feels like I'm floating. Ain't nobody like you, yeah, you got me. Tripping all over my shoes, yeah, I'm falling for you. Ain't nobody like you, yeah, you got me. Tripping all over my shoes, yeah, I'm falling for you. Ain't nobody like you. Ain't nobody like you.
Welcome back to our second match where me and my co-caster Blank were having such a highly debated discussion on which map they were going to choose. But now as we do see it, it will be the map of Numbani. And Blank, how about we discuss why this map was chosen?
I mean, well, I just gave you some clear facts on why they play Numbani here. So, I mean, this is actually the map where Lab found a little bit of success in week 1, where they got momentum coming through to second point. I think they're a massive momentum team, right? Okay, he's not gonna play the Bastion. No.
Yeah.
No. No. Okay. This is the map where they found a lot of momentum, right? And it's where they started to perform in a big way. So I think this is obviously the map they choose. What?
Interest. Yeah, that's
Why?
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, Zijin finds the first pick with the micro missile. Just gonna send Lab a little bit back, and Orchid on the Ana as well, as I would imagine Since would switch from the Moira scene, is gonna get heavily counted as soon as they try and get onto point, because obviously once the shield is gone from the Winston, really only thing that's gonna stop that back grenade is the Diva.
And you're going to see, again, a lot of intel coming in by IEQ off the sub that they did bring in for Team CC here to try and give some vision, as you will see Mello on that Tracer play trying to give some harass, but again, they're really just trying to find the opportunity here to really engage this in a good position as they do start to jump to the high ground and reposition it now to the low ground. Continuing to contest Laboratory, seeing if they can try and regroup, but there's so much damage coming in here.
Stuck in the
Kuma with that rocket damage, it's just unreal right now.
Where do you go in this situation? You're caught in a small room and someone just lobbing rockets, and like, that is not a room that you want to be in. You unleash the Coalescence, try and do some damage to Yakumo. He is getting pressured a little bit. Mercy actually goes down, so now you're left with just Orchid, who also falls.
Oh goodness, they might actually have the opportunity here if they don't manage their health bars effectively. With both supports going down, you see Team CC on the defensive side in a dangerous spot, as Laboratory's actually going to look to claim this first point.
There is no shield though on board, so Yakumo finding bins. Now he can drop in the self-destruct. Everyone's gonna have to scarper.
And that's finally it, managing to get it, forcing out that self-destruct with the pick. Not gonna buy enough time here for Team CC to regroup and try and contest, but at that point, they just needed to set back and try and find a better position to contest against this, as now Laboratory's gonna have just over 4.5 minutes.
And here we go. This is exactly what we're talking about. This is where they start to find the momentum and they can start to push on through. Once they have the positional advantage, once they have that auto economy, they seem to know what to do with it generally. So now it's down to Team CC to make some plays to almost counter out what they're coming in with. They have switched the Brigitte now, wary that Mello is just finding too much free damage on this Tracer. And I think that mainly on this point, what's going to be the difference maker is how the self-destruct is used.
And there's the stun taking out the Tracer by Brigitte, which again, don't typically much now in the back. Gonna get the follow-up as well onto the Winston. And that's really what Brigitte does. I mean, we've seen that so much and how effective it is removing the Tracer from the meta because of that type of gameplay. And, you know, it's showing very much here as they look to see that team switch.
How do you lose the Genji there? The Dragon Blade comes out on top of him. He's clear line of sight on the Ana. I mean, it's just clutch from Yakumo to turn around, get the armor pack off in time, and then he slices through and he just cannot finish off the target. You've wasted your dash at that point. You're just dead in the water.
And you see, GG Ren now in the back looking to harass. Even though they have the sound barrier to try and keep them alive, that support play is not going to survive with the follow-up here by IEQ up on the Tracer, as they are just consistently harassing. Pulse Bomb available even further, with Zijin also having the self-destruct, now completely locking them down into this spawn point.
Yeah, IEUP is like, well, if you're not going to play Tracer, then I guess, if you're not going to play Brigitte, I guess I'll play Tracer as well. Find as much free value as I want. He will have the Pulse Bomb. There is Meow on the Lucio, so we'll be able to speed the Zenya out of the way. But currently no Transcendence, so one Pulse Bomb could be the end of this fight.
And you're going to see Mello going on to that McCree, trying to find that flashbang opportunity against the Tracer, as Zijin just getting so much pressure in the back once again to self-destruct, though. Gonna get two by Bins here on both supports once again. This might be the opportunity for Laboratory to get some momentum here on the front. Primal Rage also going to be committed to this as well, as you're going to have Mello look like to switch back onto the Tracer to continue giving some pressure here.
Yeah, just a little pressure indeed. Zijin does actually get the D-Mech. Decides not to op in the self-destruct as of yet, but they have held them for a good minute and a half here on the original corner. So now there will definitely be a recontest, but they're more or less hoping to get it on this first corner as they come around through mini, so they can buy a little bit more time, because that was an expensive fight for Lab. The big thing here is Since does have the Transcendence, Bins gets taken down, and this should just be a free fight for Team CC now.
Bomb also available, wanting to see if they're going to commit to it, but again, they've already done so much damage here, probably just going to hold on to it. No real need to utilize that, as they are going to have the rally coming out by the support, making sure to maintain TCC here, and they'll have some decent armor protection going into this next fight with 3 ultimates to their advantage.
Unsurprisingly here on point B, where this is generally the easiest part of the map to take, Team CC have stabilized, surprisingly, even though Laboratory had so many offensive ultimates. And Mello, still on this Tracer, does not care that Yakumo is completely denying her so much space on this Brigitte so far. Since still holding on to the Transcendence, but in comes IEUP, looking for that backline pick. There is a Dragon Blade on top now.
Liar trying to see if they can get that support pick, but actually kind of steps away here. Doesn't commit fully to it, not getting it with now the aggression. Coming out though by Tian Kong. On that, Winston getting the follow-up. Orchid the bounce around by Meow on the front. Surprisingly able to give some support here as the self-destruct overhead tries to land. Not going to gain anything out of it. I Eat You Up still holding on to that pulse bomb as they're looking to try and wait and regroup here with Team CC and finding that opportunity to slow the momentum in this last few meters that you're going to see by Laboratory.
They're just going to stabilize, wait for a recontest. They still can't touch it. You will have GGN in the sky, drops in the pulse bomb. I don't know if it hit, did not get anyone, but there is a sound barrier layered on top.
And that now self-destruct Mech on the high ground, not going to be able to gain too much more, though, if they don't exploit that positioning. Pulse bomb, again, still available now here for Mello. Wanting to find that opportunity to use it as Transcendence is going to be forced, waiting for it to expire, most likely, as the rally's actually going to be used by Laboratory as well, but will be immediately taken down by Yakumo on the side of Team CC, as, again, they're just really trying to stagger this out. 3 minutes, or correction, 3 meters still to go.
Liar went for a cheeky back cap there, yeah, and you know what? Zaijin just completely read him like a buck and was able to cut off the approach there and take him down nice and easy. IU Up has just held this, has had so many pulse bombs. Like every time he drops one, he has a new one for the next fight. And again, this is a constant threat. And since you see them make the switch of the Brigitte, he knows that he needs to have it here, but they are lacking so much healing. Just the Brigitte and the Lucio only giving about 32 HPS. Like, it's not enough here.
I Eat You Up gonna try and throw the pulse bomb to turn it around. Not really gonna gain much out of it, but the Dragon Blade coming out by Liar, getting one onto I Eat You Up. Now the second, which is gonna give them an opportunity to keep this going. Still having, again, a decent amount of meters left to go, just under 10 as we do continue to pressure forward. Also having that Primal Rage coming out on Team CC, but now the Sound Barrier is gonna be, in addition, coming out by Meow on Laboratory. Giving some space here to hopefully survive on the point, trying to force them away again. Now they're gonna look to try and stabilize here for Team CC, but having a difficult time doing so as they're finally starting to get the picks. You're going to see Yakumo get Mello in the
Tian,
back.
so low.
There's another one. A nice job again. Kong going to get taken out as they just continue to apply pressure. But Liar's
This is impressive. They might step off.
Back and forth. They are so close to stepping onto it with literally 2.6 meters left to go. Are they going to be able to pressure them away? But they are so absolutely close to reaching it as I Eat You Up gets the last melee kill.
That is insane.
Just before it. Oh, that scrappy fight.
I think that, to be honest with you, Team CC is such an incredible team when it comes to restabilizing. I think GG Ren just knows his limits just incredibly well. You see him going to the back, does not get denied of any of that healing because he comes back to his team, allows him to come back in, and Yakumo in the front lines, always providing that pressure. The Tracer goes down, no longer able to put that damage into Zaijin or Jaichi Ren. And I think Zaijin plays so well around GG Ren's shields. Like, there's at no point where he's going too low, where Team CC cannot keep him up, because he's able to use other abilities within Team C's like hero pool to sustain himself almost. And I think that combo between Zaijin and Chichiren is what really enabled them to hold for so long, because Tian Kong is desperately trying to find a target there, either it be Chichiren or Zaijin, but they're cycling so effectively, and at some point he just finds himself 100 HP, and one of the players on Team CC will just pick him up. In this case, it is IEU Up who is playing this Tracer really, really good at just basically being the janitor of Team CC so far.
And again, you know, that's one of those crucial things when it comes into really evaluating that substitute. They wanted to bring in I Eat You Up for this fight, knowing that they had that advantage, and the synergy that they've been displaying here has not been, you know, unnoticed, especially as they've been playing the last several weeks that we've had here. And going into this map, we're going to have on Laboratory now for the defensive side. You're going to see Mello going on to the far right, having Liar still going to stay on the Genji, though.
So really what this matchup comes down to is Team CC have a clear win condition, is that since he's playing the Anarite with the Mercy, and sure he might get a pocket from the Mercy when they dive in, but they need to do it quickly, because if they leave it too long, really what's going to happen is Melo's going to be able to soften up these targets, make his way towards a barrage, and if the dive doesn't come in almost immediately onto Sins, who is relatively unprotected, does not have a Lucio with her, then this point should just go immediately over to Team CC.
Orchid already getting an immediate pick with the assistance by the Brigida to give so much damage on the front. They are just cleaning house immediately. The DMAC coming out as well, as the combination of these supports right now are dealing a significant amount of follow-up damage to secure the kill, as again that Discord orb is allowing them to focus fire effectively, with now having just under 6 minutes to reach this next point.
It's actually a really, really smart play from them, because not only did they circumvent past a lot of the damage that would be coming through in a copious amount from Mello by going underneath, they also send Jichi Ren to dive up top, and we've seen players like Fusions from from used to be on British Hurricane, now over to Boston Academy. What he'd do was he'd jump onto pillars on Hollywood and Numbani, and he'd just slide down them. So he would never fully commit to the dive, but he would get the massive amount of damage on top, and maybe even force a rotation out the enemy team. Once again, Orc is just popping off. Tian has died for the second time to this lab.
And just, again, consistent calls here, focusing those targets. Now you're going to get Zyjin getting the follow-up here onto the DMEC and the kill. Orchid popping off, as you said, just consistently causing so much pressure. This Zenyatta no longer only a support player, but the dominant DPS right now on the side of Team CC, as they're going to use the rally.
How do you get back
to
in?
Secure it. And not gonna, oh, well, actually, no, never mind, no, they're not. That's gonna be a bash to the face, and Team CC is gonna claim victory on Numbani.
KG drops in. He's like,
One and done.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be here. This, yeah, the wrong party. I'm a couple of doors down. See you later. Bye.
Oops,
Yeah, that's
bash,
unfortunate.
bye,
Yeah.
peace out.
Oh dear, that's unfortunate. That's Team CC going 2-0 almost immediately versus Laboratory. So I really, Team CC didn't really like whatever Laboratory were cooking up in their lab, so they just said no and they just threw the files on the floor. So unfortunate for Laboratory, but Team CC really making a good showing here.
And and we'll let the desk take a little bit further of a diagnostic and understanding of this. So we'll get a quick switch over to Geo and the rest of our analysts.
Kenobi, you weren't very happy with Seed's Hammond, and in fact, you cheered when he got subbed out. So tell me about this. I want to know.
Yes, thank you. Well, so the issue I kind of had with Laboratory this entire season has been that they kind of are just really rigid when they run this Hammond comp. And I'm trying to rack my brain, ask some people like Scribe, who's just like a massive brain, like, what is the goal here of this Hammond and what it really are supposed to do? And the way I've really seen is that you're trying to use the Hammond to try and get into that back line and one-shot one of the supports. However, when they played it, Seeds was kind of going back and just back capping the point, not really putting any much impact on the game, and you're foregoing a diva against a goats composition for this Hammond, where basically at this point every single grab you have is a free grab, every blizzard free blizzard. So I don't understand the Hammond pick over something like a diva who offers so much utility and is so important in these goats compositions.
Well, that's the thing as well, as Team CC were really living up to their name, bringing out the CC with Mei. Do you think picking to use the Mei against Hammond was part of their win condition?
I think they were picking it, maybe not even to use it against the Hammond per se, but they probably understood that like if Seeds is in the lineup, they're going to roll out with Hammond, period. I think Mei is one of those heroes that's always been very strong on Command Center, because for Command Center, I think your entryways from your spawn into like the main hallway to get to the point are all through choke points. So this is kind of where Mei's really used to separate the teams. This takes away a lot of the advantage of 3-3 compositions, where because they're able to deathball very effectively, you can't chunk them out very early on the fight. But with Mei dividing them very early on the fight, getting the in this case, right, the Reinhardt separated from the rest of the team here, and then taking him out allows you to kind of continue to stagger the fight, not let them build up the ultimates that they realistically need to get to the next step. And I think that's exactly what created the biggest issue for Seeds, right? Is because Seeds is basically depending on Reinhardt and Zarya to follow up with his dives. But when he's that separate from the rest of the team, and if he's forced to go solo, just like bring them back to point so they can even get through the initial choke, that's kind of when you know things aren't going exactly where they're planning.
Well, yeah, because non-diva compositions are becoming a little bit less rare, but do you think it was just that kind of like lack of backup from the team, which meant that their version of a non-diva composition didn't really work out all that well for them?
It's still just like really hard to like forego Diva just because of like what the utility she brings, and even the damage that she brings. She's gonna offer a little bit more damage. You know, Minefield is a pretty good zoning ability on maps like Control Center if used properly, but you're not charging that ultimate quick enough. And whereas Diva, you have the ability to kind of play this game of chicken with the Zarya. If you're with the Hammond, you don't really have that, and basically you can just say, okay, well, Zarya has grab. Unless we have a support ultimate, then we just we lose because we can't really. The transcend, if we don't have transcendence, what's going to heal us? Nothing.
When we go on to Numbani, there were a lot of compositional swaps, particularly on the DPS, but one thing that we saw come out right at the beginning was Laboratory were playing a dive composition, but with a Moira. Why do you think they chose to use the Moira?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I know.
To begin with, I think there are a lot of stronger options. I think Zenyatta's pretty good in this situation as well. I would like to say maybe they were thinking about Moira being able to rotate faster, maybe when they get on the point, getting into the back hallways and then going from there into high ground. I think there's a lot of merit into maybe preventing that initial damage that's up front. You don't want to run Zen because you will get jumped on. And if they're worried about cohesion and necessarily playing that dive composition where each of the supports can take care of themselves, then I start to understand why you start rolling in Moira into the equation. But at the same time, though, you're playing into a very aggressive dive composition from the side of Team CC, who kind of recognizes this is how they can take advantage of this, right? Moira is not able to contribute a lot in terms of giving you single target healing. It doesn't give you a lot of strengths in terms of giving your damage dealer buffs or giving your tanks easy ways to shred through the enemy team. So all in all, it kind of felt like this was just a makeshift way to avoid the problems that they saw they would have against Team CC's lineup.
One of the things it did end up doing, though, sorry to cut you off, Gio. One of the things it ended up doing really was you did have the ability to have Coalescence, and if they understood that Team CC was going to be bringing out the Pharah, I actually think it might have been a decent pick because you farmed up that Coalescence very quickly with all the damage that was going on. Coalescence is very, very good at dealing with pharmacies because we saw there, especially the Mercy for Team CC, once the Coalescence came out, got very, very low and out of position because she had to maneuver away from that Coalescence, and then the dive came in. The Mercy goes down, there's no more pocket for the Pharah, and the rest of the dominoes fall from there. So there was a little bit of merit. I know LaFon, a friend of mine, would probably be upset that I'm even giving Moira any credit at all because he absolutely despises this hero. So I think it showed a little bit of merit. I would have picked something different, maybe like the Zen like Scribe was saying, but it did show a little bit of worth.
Yeah, the thing with building the Coalescence is generally you expect it to be the first ult online, and because Moira kind of got picked off right at the start, it meant that she couldn't build the ultimate as fast as you would hope. So do you think maybe if they'd have rolled out initially with a Zenyatta, they would have had a little bit more of a chance to take the point and not have it kind of stalled out as long as it was?
It doesn't help that when you walk out of spawn, there shouldn't really be an instance where you walk out of spawn and die to micro missiles. It just shouldn't really happen, especially on Moira, who has fade. Like, you have an ability to where it's like, oh, okay, I'm really low health. I can just hit left shift and I can just fade away and I won't take damage. But then he just dies. And it's like, there's really no world where this type of thing should be happening. So little mistakes like that end up building up through and through. And it ended up being a little bit too much for Lab to really handle.
Well, okay, moving on from Lab's support line to the tank line, how do we think that Tiancong is doing as their new main tank?
He's doing the job that he was brought on to do, which
he can play Ryan. He can play
he can play not Hammond. So
yeah,
I think. But on a more serious note, I think he's not looking as good right now because I think this is kind of one of the things I think throughout, and it's a common trend throughout a lot of Overwatch, is when your team on a whole is not playing super professionally, your tank line looks especially bad, especially when you're in a Reinhardt position where you're kind of limited in what you can do, right? Your entire theme is like, especially in this meta, is being activated by the other members of your team, right? Whether or not it's getting Zarya bubble, whether it's not, it's having Brigitte to get the shatter in, to get the bash in for you to shatter. I think there's a lot of stuff that he could be doing to look better, but right now, they're just getting outclassed on a whole.
Well, it's going to be a 3-for-3 today because we are going to have Hanamura for the third time in a row. So what we will do is we will be sending this back over to our casters, Blank and Richrad, to take it away and see how it goes from here on out.
Yes, indeed, and we are going to get this underway on Hanamura, and again, it's going to be really interesting to see how this is going to go, and I mean, again, we've seen it 3 times now, and I cannot wait to see what the type of compositions we're going to have coming out with Laboratory, needing to make sure that they have something going into this. And actually, I think we're going to give them just a few more moments here. Ooh, there we go.
I've unmuted now. At one point, an entire broadcast, it has to happen. Just to me only. I actually should mute because I was listening to Scribe trying to explain why the Moira was a thing. I could just hear Scribe feeling sad about it. It's like, I don't understand. But I think the guy did a really good job explaining what the potential reasons for it were. And now Team CC, they're going to be on defense. Lab will be attacking, and you know why they bring Seeds in. They're bringing them to the Hammond because the Hammond is so strong, as we saw on the last series where that went well, didn't it?
The ball is real. With now 4 minutes as they do try to approach Seeds. Already
Go on,
far up in
Seeds.
front, looking
In
to
there.
maybe get some flanking position here from the high ground. Not going to see too much of it though,
Okay.
as they're repositioning now.
In he
There
goes.
it goes into the back line. We're
Oh,
gonna get a
hell
great
yeah.
view of it all by himself, but yet the fight ensues on the front line as it will be now Team CC looking to dominate here against these two, getting bolt tanks out of the way on the front, as you are now only going to see Seeds now hiding behind the wall right there,
Oh my
waiting
god,
for them to
what a-
regroup.
What a gamer, dude. Look at this guy. So he's just chilling out, waiting around. Not quite spotted him out. Yeah, they know he's back here. They
It's a
must
sneaky
know.
hamster. Sneaky
I'm
hamster.
making a lot of noise. But I mean, Team CC are just like, okay, well, this is a 5v6 now. I guess just do it again.
And I wonder if they're going to try and just make Seeds jump into the back to maybe hope to force the reach
What
on
is
their front
Seeds
line
doing?
position. But it is going to be the entire team of CC just dominating on the front. This must either be some next level strategy. Maybe there's just a DC happening
What
right
is
now.
he
Nobody's still
doing?
there.
Why are you there? Weird hamster. Stop it.
He's just having a field day of his own.
He
Look,
broke,
I think
to be fair, he broke the fences.
It's all up.
Broke the fences. Done
It's a
some-
mine. Oh, there we go. Now
Oh,
he's
here
gonna
we
jump
go.
on it, and the engage
Alright.
didn't happen though. Trying to get in there in the back line now, getting some pressure as they have the Transcendence coming on the front, seeing if they can turn it back around. Now for looking
Here
for a
he comes.
potential pile drive, overhead primal range available, and you know that's just gonna be Seeds doing some hamster things right now.
Oh, Seeds, 1 minute 40. Managed to make a play happen. The rest of his team will die around him, however.
Primal Rage finally going to reach its end here in just a moment as they do have Jichi Ren look to retreat, falling back with 2 minutes to go, as it's going to be now Laboratory having 3 ultimates going into the Seeds again, going to just reach that minefield and seeing if they can maybe use that in this next engage instead of kind of repositioning around the back line and keeping on the front, really.
They do have that win condition available to them now. Seeds are just waiting, biding his time to get that big bash through. So you get the minefield. So there will be a minefield grab combination. We've seen it before. Let's see if they can make it work again.
And those mines will be still positioned high in the air, getting quite a bit of damage onto their
Oh, okay.
able to turn this around. Graviton going to come out though on the side of Team CC, trying to lock down the few members of Laboratory that are here. Kong getting a double though, so they do still have the numbers advantage, trying to pressure forward, seeing if they can maneuver in the back, managing to get 1 tick. Now they're looking for a second. For as strange as the play was, we're gonna now see Laboratory starting to take capture A, or point A, and going to move into point B here very shortly with at least a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, I think the entirety of Laboratory were like, look, Seeds, we're going to report you for gameplay sabotage if you don't do something. He's like, okay, I'll press the Q, and then they win. So it's not too bad for them, I guess. Point A is practically impossible to hold for the full time anyway. At some point, the enemy team are going to get ultimates. Now let's see if there's a good pile drive, which actually is a really nice projected barrier to follow up, though.
And they will manage to take a lot of damage, as it will be the sound barrier coming out now for Team CC. Giving some great protection here. Again, you do see Team CC having that respawn advantages, but now Laboratory still doing a really great job of getting a lot of pick damage here. K-Hart just about to go down. Finally does here by Sins on Laboratory with the Brigitte, with now Jichi Ren forcing that Primal Rage in the back, trying to prevent them from maintaining positioning on this point, as they do get the pick here onto Kong, taking him down for that Reinhardt play, and looking to now follow up on these last few members of Laboratory, who in this retreat has 2 ultimates, not only by Seeds, but also by Tian Kong as well.
It's actually, so if you were looking on like the bottom right corner, you saw Yakumo basically heading it off versus both Seeds and so both Tian and Labins, like by himself, and he just plays around mini and gets the healing. It's like you can't kill a Brigitte. Like Brigitte is not support. She's both DPS and a tank. Okay, there's no point even trying to do that versus Yakumo, who is so much of a proficient Brigitte herself. Now Team CC, they will be dropping down. They have a couple of ultimates available. There is the bombs. The mines are on the ground.
Managing to get the D-Mech here too, forcing out the self-destruct, but still going to net a lot of value here. They were very spread out, not going to be able to get as clustered together to gain as maximum damage as they're trying to force them out now on the low ground. Getting Bins all alone in the corner, just going to completely overwhelm them. And now, once again, try and reset it with 3 minutes and 30 seconds still to go here.
It's just very difficult for Lab at the moment. They try drop in, they don't have the Diva Matrix, there's nothing really there. So once Seeds goes in, it's pretty much done as long as you can avoid the mines, because he just becomes an ult battery for the entire team. You see how fast K-Hart's been building these grabs, and that's just because he's been lasering his name into Seeds' ball. And I mean, it's frustrating for Laboratory at the moment because they just can't seem to find any ground because Yakumo is doing such a good job.
And this Graviton now going to cluster them together on that bridgeway, as you saw Seeds try to get some nice power drive positioning, but will be pulled in as they're going to force them back once again. Bait going to go down here on the Zenyatta, able to get the pick as they now again start to crumble underneath, with just Team CC being able to work this very well. And a second time around, you're going to see that laser put that title of Zarya in the Wrecking Ball once again.
And it's frustrating again, because even K-Heart's having a tough time at the moment, because you saw at the beginning of that fight, he's at 0 charge, because most of these fights do not happen in 2 stages where you would normally see it for a GOATS composition. You wait for Labins, you wait for Bins to go in, right? You drop down the self barrier, get to about 40 charge, and then you wait for that cooldown to go down, and then you get the 2 other barriers to get you to 100 full charge. At the moment, the fights are just happening, and then that one fight is the be-all, end-all for Laboratory, and Team CC are very happy to oblige.
Graviton going to come out, but just on the opposite side of the wall, only gaining 1 right now for the pull, but Since is actually going to be able to get a double kill onto both supports. Yakimo going down, not going to have that close to the rally coming up here, as it will still be a lot of pressure by Laboratory. Having Seeds now drop the minefield on the point, trying to secure it, able to get quite a bit of damage here. Orchid forcing out the Transcendence in the back, going to try and give a lot of support right now. A beautiful Transcendence agreed here to keep that entire team alive, as they will once again force them back, and K-Heart getting a triple kill here to finalize that fight.
Yeah, he, like I said before, he's been having a tough time. Like, the charge has been really tough for him to accrue, just because of the way that Lab is playing. And they come off a pretty tough fight for them. Since finds the double kill, but Team CC, and I was towering this when we come on the first map, is that they've got a very good restabilizing. They're very good at restabilizing. They understand where they need to go, where they need to position, what their default positions are when they're waiting for this respawns. So it's just really good to see. Self-destruct engaged.
And they are going to try and collapse on this tight corridor, on this platform, managing to do so. Getting Bins out early once again here. Primal Rage going to come up by GG Ren, seeing if they can maybe find an opportunity to use it. But again, they're just forcing this team of Laboratory back. Looking for that flanking position now, wanting to get some executions
what a
here.
lead.
Just hyper aggressive around those trees to get the damage done. Didn't even need to try and do it for that ultimate, because they are still going to hold on to it, as they now have just under 40 seconds to go.
The way GG Ren's playing is as if Lab have left their goggles at point B, and he's like, no, come back, I need to give you these back, please. And he's just lasering down as they try and escape. He gives them a good old tickle. Now GG Ren, he's gonna be running with the Primal Rage as well, and should be able to extend this fight a little bit longer. In comes Seeds. He is just gonna be whipping around a little bit.
Not really getting much out of that momentum in the front. Transcendence now going to be forced with a sound barrier, though, coming out by Laboratory, trying to withstand the incoming damage, as you also do have Tian Kong using that Primal Rage on the side of Laboratory to hopefully get some pressure here as they drop down to the main ground. Again, getting the kills in tandem, one after another. Seed's going to be picked off here by Orchid, consistently applying a lot of damage with that Discord Orb, as the self-destruct high overhead, looking to just try and pick anybody in the back line, but not going to be able to, starting to tick away, as they are unable to really gain any percentage on this second point, as the Primal Rage forces any remaining members of the Laboratory back.
Yeah, well, the dream's dead, right? You really did want Lab to find success on point B, and you saw like the combo come out from the first time, that win condition there, which was the grab mines, and hopefully go from there, but it's not to be, and now it will be Team CC attacking, and they only have to take one take come point B, and like I said before, it's almost inevitable that they're going to take point A. And I think a lot of what we haven't seen today is teams scouting and then changing their compositions up according to what they see the enemy team playing. And I think Team CC is one of the, if not smarter teams, that might scout here and decide what they want to play regarding versus what Laboratory are hanging on.
I mean, if we really wanted to, we could technically say Seeds in round 1 was doing a little bit of scouting of their own with the Wrecking Ball in the back.
Yeah, I guess.
That's a generous statement
like,
to put on the side of the Laboratory with Seeds.
I just, like, I really would be interested to hear the calls, like, going out when he was doing that. It's like, Seeds, just stay there. It's fine. We'll take the 5v6. Don't you worry. Don't you even worry. I think he's going to set up nice and early here, go for a nice pile driver, but Team CC, I think they've already decided what they want to go for. You put the Yakimo on the far here, pretty much no one Laboratory can actually contest him, because Seeds is playing the hammer, and you don't have the Diva, so how are you going to have any aerial threat? Yakimo is basically just going to keep pumping in damage until he gets the barrage. You don't have a Diva Matrix, that's free as well as.
And, you know, with 5 seconds to start here, you're actually going to see a little bit of a switch, though, by Team CC. You're going to have Zygen now switching onto the D.Va, so they will have that slight alteration here just before the match begins, as they're going to try and attempt this again with Seeds on the wrecking ball. And how they're going to try and fend against this, but since that switch didn't happen, or the switch happened, removing the Pharah, so they don't really have to worry about it, but the dive's going to come in very quickly by GG Ren, starting to force them into the corner. How quickly will they be able to dominate this back line as the pile drive manages to get the entire team here of Team CC?
It's not bad at all. Now Seeds makes his good getaway, and they will lose 2 members, which is pretty much over for this fight because it's both your supports. Unless they can continue going, might lose the Lucio. Ooh, that could have been bad if they did.
And they will get GG Ren as well. There's just going to be one after another again. Once those supports are taken out, it is just nothing else really to do, even against the composition, as we, you know, typically don't see the Hammond on this type of play in the conjunction with, you know, the 3-3, since they do lose that D.Va defense matrix, the harass as well, and so many other utility aspects of it. But, you know, we're going to get them right back out here quickly once again to regroup. That was super fast.
What was that? That's like supersonic speeds. They will have the rally. They're coming in with that. That's how they want to engage this point. They do find so much damage from Bins, and he goes down. The hyper carry is removed from Lab.
And you're going to see Zygen doing a great amount of work here on the 2 tanks up front, forcing out the Transcendence by Laboratory, trying to buy a few more seconds here, as there are 6 members of Team CC now dominating on this point.
Yeah, and they will just remove them from this. And now there's such a massive opportunity for Snowball. K-Heart coming up with the Graviton. You have all supportive ultimates online. You just need one of this bigger bang combo. The win condition is very obvious for Team CC. And unless this sound barrier from Sins is absolutely perfect, I do not see Lab holding this whatsoever.
Agreed, especially with the fact that they can lead in with the sound barrier to make sure that they do have the buffer and they have the huge amount of damage. There's going to be an initial pick right away. The stun taking down by GG Ren with the damage in the front line. Orchid getting the follow-up onto Bins, completely clearing them off. They're going to just unload every ultimate they have, except for Zygen wanting to use that, I guess, as an insurance policy right now, as 5 ultimates are going to be unloaded onto this team of Laboratory. Primal Rage going to be forced into the back corner as the self-destruct now is unleashed as they claim victory on Hanamura.
Well, yeah. There you go. Team CC taking Hanamura away from Laboratory. You saw it here first, folks. You got that Hammond at about going about, what was it, speed of light through from point B to point A.
Right.
That's kind of the only light that we did see out of Seeds. Really didn't do much other than that. There was that decently good minefield play. I think there's just some plays on Lab, like there seems to be some semblance of a team there. It's just not quite, you're just not quite there yet.
And it's like,
and I think Team CC is just playing really well.
And I mean, honestly, it's like they're it's like they have the need and the desire to bring in that Hammond and to try and, you know, truly make it viable.
Yeah,
but I mean, as you've said, I know, and it's like, as you've said, like there's such a prevalent reason to play the D.Va, and we're just really not seeing it, which I think is just hurting them in the grand scale of things. You know, as we're just going to go into a quick break as well before we get into this 4th and final match here to see if Seeds is going to continue to be on the wrecking ball, which I don't see there's any real switches, but maybe we'll have our hopes and wishes answered switching onto the D.Va. So we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to this fourth and final match that we are going to be having. And again, there is a little bit of a swap in some plays. I know we did see Seeds in our last one, and it's now going to be Mellow coming in. So I don't think we're going to see, you know, that backline hidden positioning with the Wrecking Ball. Going to change it up a little bit. Not going to have that here. And so how do you think it's going to change up now, bringing in Mellow? Do we see a lot of the far play? Do you think it'll be something interesting and new? Or are we going to stick with those commonalities we've had before, Blank?
I think you pull out Seeds, right? You go into Dorado and you play something more DPS oriented, and that's why you pull Mellow in. I don't think he plays too many tanks here, so you whack him on the Widowmaker, you see what he can do. Hopefully he has a little bit more success. Bins goes over the Torbjorn. As you know, that's just standard here today. I'm pretty sure he's going to go back up to this area very shortly. But let's take a look at Team CC, because they're all going to be on defense, so we can make a much more concentrated decision about what, I guess, judgment of how they're going to play. So they got Lijiang on the Orisa, which gives them a lot of mobility when it comes to placing shield down. It looks like they are going quite early onto the payload. Actually, no, they're holding back for the time being. But I think come point B, as you move back, wow, what a shot.
Yeah,
That's
right away.
impressive.
K-Hart already. It almost looked like it was an identical replay from the match that we were casting earlier from that low ground position, getting a headshot on the return side, though, as you do still have the numbers advantage. Waiting to see if we're going to have Mellow find another position here to get a headshot on that return K-Hart.
I mean, this is what K-Hart played a lot of in Season 2, was the Widowmaker. A bit inconsistent at times, but he definitely was one of the top Widowmakers from Season 2. Like, the guy is very, very strong on this hero. I'm gonna see if you can find any more picks here, because this composition is very much pick heavy. They're banking a lot of these fights being stopped before they start, with Lijiang holding on the Orisa, giving them that superior control on the payload. Also, this ult is gonna make it so easy to find the picks. It's just unfortunately Brigadier gets pulled in there as well as.
And they're going to have a decent dive here with that. Ooh, and a sleep in the back onto Mellow. Oh,
He actually
good
missed the
game.
headshot.
Yeah, that was
Embarrassing.
surprising as well. I mean, how can you miss that when you're just laying taking a nap on the ground? But we're going to go ahead and still keep a lot of pressure here on the front, as you see.
That was
Oh,
nice.
another pick in the air as they
shot.
just continue to get forced back once again to regroup.
Yeah, it was a nice shot from K-Hart. He's finding most of the heads unless you're sleeping. If you make it easy for him, he's like, oh, this is really tough. Then
Too
you take a
simple.
really hard shot, which is like the Genji mid-air as he does a flip. He's like, no. That's the easiest shot in the books.
The momentum is real. The momentum is real. He just had to find a stride there. I mean, you're looking at a still target. You're just like, well, let's go ahead and just not worry about it. But we do get the rockets still coming out by Yakumo on the high ground, getting a decent amount of damage here. But the defense matrix trying to take a lot of it, as the position now is going to happen from Laboratory on the high ground. Repositioning around the outer side, looking for the flank, but has the rocket barrage available to try and contest against this, as the nano boost is now going to come onto Kong at the back, seeing if they can get some aggressive damage here. Rocket barrage managing to get Liar, but unfortunately there's not going to be too much more to follow, as the self-destruct is hopefully looking to gain something. Does get Kong, so the numbers advantage will still be in favor of Team CC.
He actually nanoed the Mercy. Team CC, what are you doing? I guess CEO now has his Valkyrie? But yeah, well, yeah, pulled out the Caduceus Blaster, gave him a good old hiding with it, and now Lab will be going backwards once again. Mellow still doesn't have EMP, which is impressive to say the least, and Liar still not towards his Genji Blade after 3 minutes. It's not quite AKM style, but it's getting there.
It is. It's over time, as we're now going to get the pressure on the K-Hart in the back. Going to get immediately hooked back up to the high ground, trying to survive through all of that incoming damage by the Monkey, as we now get some still decent amount of pressure on the low ground, and K-Hart just getting pocketed by the heel and getting the kill onto 2 here. Mellow just once again. And that's going to be Team CC holding, and now they're only going to have 50 seconds left for Laboratory to try and work through this market phase.
Yeah, they've crushed the time bank. 45 seconds remaining. K-Hart absolutely popping off. Reminiscence of times back on Season 2 when you see him on King's Row and he just absolutely crushed players. This is point A though. Now they've got the EMP Dragon Blade combo. That's their win condition right now. They have to pull it off. They're going to have a nano on top of it. If things go wrong here, Rich, then to be honest with you, they really don't deserve to have point A in the first place.
seeing if they can use that combination. Like you said, that is really their win condition, as you're going to see if Mello can find an opportunity. Self-destruct high overhead, forcing Mello back, and the rocket barrage finds them! Oh, it takes out 2, looking to get some extra damage, but the Blade's still going to manage to get 3, though.
Is he
now
gonna
trying
push
to get
the
onto the
forward?
high ground, seeing if they can turn it around, getting K-Hard so much damage here with the follow-up on Brigitte as they're going to pull this out of nowhere. A sliver of health left, the dagger to the face, as they are really wanting to reach this next checkpoint.
2.5 minutes, yeah, it's there, right? You got the EMP, you got the Dragon Blade, you got the Nano. And like I said, if you can't make that work versus Team CC, who had pretty much had all ults depleted from them, they didn't have any defensive ultimates either, then yeah, that point wasn't ever going anywhere, right? Team CC, they made the quick switch over to the Zarya Winston composition. It's good because there's the Brigitte in the fold as well, which is going to make Liar's life even harder, which is why you do see Mello switch back from the Tracer over to the McCree now, because he knows versus Yakimo it's a real bad idea staying on that Tracer.
Yeah, and they won't be able to stay up for too long, as now you're going to get some aggression coming in by Zygen in the back, able to force them away, as this, once again, aggressive Team CC composition is going to come out, using that Brigitte and the Zarya play just cause so much havoc onto this team of Laboratories. They're going to be forced back and looking to try and, regroup here to find an opportunity to turn this back around in their favor.
Team CC looking to burn as much time as possible, which they actually accurately have done. A whole minute off the clock already from that 2.5 time bank that the Laboratory were rewarded with. Now GG Ren getting so much pocket here. They won't find anyone with the bomb, and it's just gonna happily let Mello get out of there.
Looking to see if they can also get that follow-up here onto Liar in the back on the Genji, able to dive out of the way. Self-destruct going to be used by Zygen to see if they can maybe get a pick there. It is now Orchid so far back. Oh goodness, they are just way forward position here to just continue pushing them back, as now the rally's going to come out. Yeah, it seems like it would be for how far back they're playing, as they now have just 60 seconds remaining to try and do something to this payload, which is now literally almost at the next checkpoint marker.
Okay, so we got the Nano Blade. Once again, this is where we hope things will go well. Liar did pop off that last time. Let's see if he can find the same success with that combination. The only problem is, this time you're running into Orchid, who has the Transcendence waiting and ready.
And you also saw Synth throw the Nano Boost onto Kong instead of Liar, who's going to get picked off on the high ground. Orchid getting the kill, as it will be Mello taking out Orchid finally on this front line, having that Deadeye to maybe find some headshots here on this next turnaround. But I'm not sure if they're going to really have the pressure to do so.
Why did Sins use the Nano there? It's like your win condition is the Nano Blade. You saw it work last time, but instead he opts to use it to keep, I imagine, one of the tanks alive in the situation. We come around first corner. Team CC have 4 ultimates coming from the sound barrier. This is going to be so difficult to hold on to.
Tries to get some decent armor here, looking for the blade. They're at least going to hyper-focus, giving some protection, but the Transcendence is going to be there to completely remove the usage of this blade.
Wow.
Self-destruct, though, actually going to gain a kill, though, onto the Lucio. Team CC now only having the 1 support remaining, a lot riding on the shoulders of Orchid now to make sure that they can sustain through this, as the Primal Rage is going to come out by Jai Chi Ren. Still causing havoc in the back, though, looking to get that pick onto Mello, but the supports are still keeping them alive. Oh my goodness, these supports on Laboratory are doing a great job with now the rally going to come out onto the point. They are managed to keeping this overtime for quite some time, as they are trying to pressure forward with the Graviton now going to pull them together by K-Heart on the front. Team CC wanting to finally finish this off. The Deadeye managing to get off before the kill, but there's the follow-up.
Is he gonna
Finally
get it?
getting
Oh,
it
yes, he
by
does.
Zygen, getting after the D-Mac, not going to survive. Time ticking away, as now it's only going to be Liar stunned over the wall as they finally reach an end.
Well, they stopped on point B. It's very upsetting for Liar. He's like, where's my Nano, dude? I need the Nano now. And it's real frustrating for him, because he just can't make the inroads that he would have been able to do should he have had that extra 50% damage layered on top of him. And he just goes down because the Transcendence is ready and waiting. Orchid this time is prepared. Laboratory just seem to be all over the place at times. Like, there seems to be miscommunication coming down. Tian Kong, I think that he plays like very over aggressive. And Bins is probably the one who actually backs him up a lot of times, which almost activates him and enables him to do these kind of overextensions. So all credit goes to Bins here at the moment. I think Liar's done a great job, but he had to be set up so hard for even one play to come off.
Agreed. I mean, even further, like you said, or like we were seeing, that usage of the nano boost came out on Tian Kong on the front on the Winston as they dove into the back line trying to get some extra damage. I think they were trying to utilize the combination of the Primal Rage as well, just because they were so grouped together, but it would have gained so much more value, especially at the end there, where he was able to deal quite a bit of damage with that blade still, and having the protective armor coming up by the Brigitte. It would have been so much better to have it for that moment.
Yeah, and they just don't hold on to it. And when you have a win condition like that and only so little time remaining, it's something you got to hang on to. Even if you have a bad fight, you don't try and go for this. You don't give up that win condition when it could buy you much more meters than you actually lose by using the nano there. Now Laboratory will be on the defense. Liar still on this Genji, but Team CC, they're just going to play this Winston Zarya comp and just bring the fight to them.
They're just going to try and rush this as quickly as possible. Liar now looking to see if they can try and get some damage in the back, generating that ultimate charge as quickly as possible with those shurikens. But now you actually see Orchid going down early, and that's actually going to hurt Team CC very much here, since they're not going to have that Discord Orb to try and just shred through it, and they know it. They're going to fall back and just want to get that full 6 and make sure that they can mow forward on this.
Yeah, this is really smart from Team CC. They back off, they put the projected barrier onto Zaijin, so K-Heart's sitting at a nice healthy charge now after that massive amount of damage came through onto him. So this means they can come into this next fight looking pretty healthy, and just one projected barrier is probably going to get him up to 100 charge. He's going to be doing an incredible amount of damage.
Oh, and Melo's just trying to survive through it. Orchid now coming back strong. Unfortunately, going to go down again here by Meow on that Brigitte. Again, doing a great job of finding that Orchid support player on Team CC, just allowing them to shut that down quickly, because that does have such a pivotal play here, utilizing that Discord Orb and just dealing a significant amount of damage.
It's tough because I actually think that Orchid is playing far differently than he would normally play. We saw him on first point A as their defender. He looks really good, right? And then they go back to point A once again to spawn cap, and he goes out into the open far too many times. So I think he is just playing a little bit less cautious than he would normally do. It's just a little bit of disrespect to Laboratory at the moment, and they're making sure he's punished for it.
For sure, and you do see now the self-destruct coming overhead. Liar going to unleash that Dragon Blade, having to be careful of the explosion radius, managing to survive through it though, not going to be able to gain as much out of it as we've seen prior in this map so far by Liar on the Genji play. As they do reach the next checkpoint, Team CC still going to keep the momentum here, as you're going to see Laboratory now trying to regroup one last time so they can hopefully maybe hold this back with 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, they have nothing. If I had to call it now, I think this is pretty much done. Next fight potentially, because Laboratory is coming in with the only mobile hero really is the Genji and the Diva, and if they can manage to get the Graviton on both of them, they can just hold them still for the entire time, and there's no way they're touching the point. Even so, K-Heart can just lead up the rest of his team here, and they will have a sound barrier mid-fight as well.
Supercharger going to give some extra damage, but immediately taken down regardless. Not going to matter. Graviton pulling them together as they are going to reach it, and that's going to be
exactly what I wanted to see.
4-0 for Team CC against Laboratory. We have seen some definitely exciting gameplay, to say the least. When we can, it depends upon how you look at it, whether the cup's half full or half empty. You're going to look at it one way or the other. So that was some extraordinary gameplay that we did see these last 4 matches.
Absolutely extraordinary.
I mean, it really was. And, you know, again, it's been absolutely amazing going through this with you, Blank, as always. It is a pleasure to cast with you, and I know we're going to want to have our waitful and just as excited analyst desk with Gio hosting it to go a little bit further into how these 4 matches went as a whole. And it's been a pleasure, as always. Take it away, desk, for us.
Guys, I have to agree with Rich there that we have seen some extraordinary gameplay in these last 4 matches. But let's focus a little bit on the last 2 that we saw just there. Actually, in fact, Dorado ended up being a lot closer of a match than we perhaps suspected. And what led this to actually end up being the case?
Maybe CC is not nearly as good as we thought they were. I think that's like, in some sad way, like that's actually all I was able to take away from this series so far, is CC looked very inconsistent when, I mean, this is what I'll say, like K-Hard definitely popped off on Widow. I think that's definitely bodes very well for having a strong Widowmaker player. I think that they are going to be able to handle these, you know, these typical dive compositions a little better, but on a whole, like even G-Children towards the end of that kind of looked lost, even though he was playing against a team that honestly was entirely lost, right? So, I mean, I mean, it was close, and it shouldn't have been close at all. And that's kind of like the sad part about this is CC did not look like they were actively ready to dominate this team. It did not seem like they had the cohesion that they absolutely needed, and that's going to really impact them going forward. The next 2 weeks are not easy games, right? Lingon and then finishing off the season with T1W. Like, this is the big match we talked about in Group A, T1W versus Team CC, and now it kind of feels like T1W has made a lot of adaptations. They look a lot more cohesive on GOATs, which was their big weakness coming to the season. CC has a lot to work on moving forward.
Do you think that LGE are going to beat Team CC when they come to their own matchup?
I'm not sure. I think LGE, I've never rated them as highly as like Team CC or T1W, but I think based on what I saw from Team CC today, I think it's going to be a closer match than I had originally thought it would be. Team CC, again, like Sky was kind of saying, they didn't look as, willing to dominate this match as they should have been. This match should have been much more of a stomp and a sweep than it was, but they just let, they let some of the Hammond play affect them. They let some of the other play affect them, just like with EMP Nano Blade. Like, they just weren't playing it as crisp and clean as you would have liked to have seen from a team who is shooting for that number one spot.
I mean, even though right at the end there, it did get a bit close, Team CC obviously took the series, but who would you say on the team was the most impactful in this series?
Can I say Seeds?
Well, I was asking about Team CC, but you can say Seeds if you
I know
want.
who you were asking about. I am very fair.
Yeah, Seeds did
for it.
more for Team CC than the majority of their players, so that's pretty good for the same. But I think there's a lot of benefits, a lot of strong parts that we could look into, right? Like K Hart playing exceptionally well is one of the big ones that I like seeing him come back. He was kind of a widow one trick, and now he's kind of slowly found his way back into the groove. I Eat You Up, who has been a really strong addition. It's now kind of showcasing some of that extra variety that they could really add if they want to go dive. But Z-Gen is the actual best player on CC. I think Jichirin is in that weird mood where he doesn't look incredibly strong, but Z-Gen's getting a lot of value from what he's able to do. We saw him switching over to Ana in case he wanted to kind of reduce healing and kind of like counter this the Genji on the other side. So for me at least, Team CC, I would say Z-Gen is my stand-up player to watch.
I think Orchid also had a pretty nice game. Orchid's kind of one of these players that is new to Team CC, kind of came up through the ranks and, was playing Zenyatta relatively well, was fragging out, getting those heals and nice time transcendences whenever they needed. I think he's definitely someone that they can rely on, and they're going to have to rely on throughout the rest of the series because you need to have that healers who's going to be able to keep GQRN alive, because GQRN has had a lot of issues, like Scribe was saying, where he's getting a little bit too aggressive for his own good. So if Orchid goes onto something like the Ana, for instance, which we've seen so far in the first couple of weeks, GQRN is very GQRN is very less likely to die. Excuse me.
Well, I think before we tie this desk up in a neat little bow, I have to ask a question that is on everybody's lips, and that is, what was Seeds doing when he went and hid behind the point on Hanamura and kind of just chilled out there?
You get a phone call? I don't know.
I have some idea of what he was doing. So this is kind of
okay.
So in a more serious manner, I think this is very similar to what King Kong was doing before, where if you have Hammond in the back line kind of being able to move around there, I think it creates a lot of anxiety in terms of the front line play, because I think one of the big ways that you really disrupt that initial choke gate defense from the defense side is you really get it behind them where they have to continuously check behind them, and then you engage together as a lineup. And we did see that kind of work, right? Pile driver into minefield is very effective, especially if everyone's grouped up at the initial gate because they're expecting to engage into a 5v6. I think that's very effective also. I think him hiding behind the fence is kind of, it looks bad initially, but you actually do have vision in ball form of that initial entrance, and you don't really get targeted as easily, right? So that's kind of like one of those things where you can substitute him in that position for scouting Sombra, where he's saying like, okay, they're all grouped together, let's engage. But the timing never worked out. That's kind of like one of the negatives about playing that kind of greedy level of play, where if you're waiting for this opportunity to set up and get this perfect dive and it never happens, you kind of just wasted 2 minutes in backline.
Yeah, so that's one of the issues I had kind of with the idea of the Hammond there in general, was you have it's very all in. Like, you need to have that perfect moment where you get that minefield, you get that pile driver value, and then you have to, on top of that, go and you have to really just snowball onto that last point, because if you're not snowballing that last point, you're wasting even more time and you're ending up with a bank of like a minute or a minute and a half, something you definitely on 2CP want to have more of, especially when Team CC is on the other side and they just roll through you in like 5 minutes. So I think it does have some merit. I think the trade-off for value in terms of time, if you're not making that time work for yourself, then I think it's just not worth the trade-off.
Well, now we've all had that question answered. We can all stop wondering what was going on there. And we will have to wait until next week to find out what will be happening in the stories of all these teams continuing forward. It will be week 4, so people starting to be finding where they belong in the group rankings. It's going to be pretty interesting, pretty fun. So, for some more, as ever, exciting Wrecking Ball gameplay and everything else that you see in Chinese Contenders, make sure you come back to this stream next weekend to watch that. I've been Geo. I've been joined by 3 analysts, Scribe, Kenobi, and Blank, and in spirit Albion. And thank you so much to the casters Kenobi, Rapture, Ritrad, and Blank. We'll see you next week.